So where did you move to?
Pearland.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
So you didn't have to drive that far.
No, he's originally from. I
live at 288 in Beltway. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Right down the road. I know. That's why whenever I saw you had posted a running video of you at Tom Bass Park, I was like, son of a bitch, you're right across the street.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
A long time. A little too long, huh?
We used to do a lot of running pre-COVID and then post-COVID. I mean, during the middle of COVID.
It made me tired watching the videos. The pictures. I was like, fuck, I'm out of shape.
We are too.
He still kind of does it. I no longer post.
I'm trying to get back in. I got a weird foot injury I'm trying to work through, but
dude, I got in a car accident on July 7th and I'm still, physical therapy, pain management bullshit. Sucks.
Where are you hurt at?
My back.
Ooh.
Yeah. I have 5 slip discs or herniated discs.
God.
Yeah. So
you doing some stem cell stuff?
Right now I'm still, so there's also a case going on. It was a work truck that hit me. Yeah. So, and my best friend is a personal injury lawyer.
Hell yeah.
So
555-666.
We will fight for you.
Jim Adler. Hammered. But I'm still going through a personal injury case for that. Hopefully, eventually it'll come through. But I've had a couple MRIs and physical therapy, all sorts of doctors look at me. And at first they were like, oh, we didn't find anything in the neck MRI. And I was like, that's weird because my neck hurts pretty bad. And they did a second one on my neck and then my lower back. And they were like, you have 5 herniated discs.
Oh,
I was like,
damn.
Super.
What'd they say happened to your mustache?
How's the
electricity?
How's the stash going?
Lots of product, bro. Lots of products.
Oh, I know.
And
I've
time.
tried that.
And time. For a while, I mean, it doesn't matter how much product you put on there at first. It'll just...
That's impressive.
Yeah. Especially because it's long, man. I can't ever do the mustache because I end up biting it. And I don't even know I'm doing it.
I'll be honest,
I'm just clipping.
If whenever I used to work offshore and stuff, I'm obviously not getting my mustache ready every day. And so I'll be eating and there's hair in my mouth. I'm like, God damn it. It's annoying. But,
especially with that.
Yeah.
You actually, I know you probably know this, but you can actually pull in more hair from your beard to make it even more massive. So, that's what people do.
So this part right here, I get frustrated because it'll get too long and I'm impatient, even though it doesn't look like it, but I'm impatient. So on the side here, I'll trim it so that it doesn't get in the way of the mustache, but I know that you can bring it down a little bit and have a thicker one. But every time it starts to get short, then I have to trim a mustache and I have to kind of let it grow and fuck it.
Yeah. These are real first world problems right here.
Yeah, right?
There's a lot of beard on this stash. A lot of beard on the podcast.
Yeah.
Not from here.
We got to talk about it.
So you, your parents got divorced, then you went and moved to Pearland. Mm-hmm. What made you join the military?
Well, my dad was in the Navy, and he kind of pushed for it when I was younger. My grandfather was actually an Air Force lieutenant colonel, flew Chinooks in Vietnam, and had a full ride for me to go to the Air Force Academy. And I don't know if you remember, but I was super anti-establishment and screw the government. I know my way, right? So I graduated high school, tried to go to SFA. Got kicked out for smoking pot, believe it or not, from SFA. So when I came back home, man, I had a little bit of a rough stint for about a year. And then my dad was like, look, I'll help you out, give you the truck. You need to join the military. And I was like, fuck.
Fucking military.
Yeah. And so I wanted to join the Marines. And my dad was like, no, I don't want you to go over blah, blah, blah. Well, come to find out, I have the same job as I was literally in a school with Marines. So we have the same exact job. It's just people think of Marines, they're like, oh, that's a badass. People think of the Navy, they're like fucking squid. But yeah, so it worked out. 4 years, I found out that I could get paid a lot more for my services outside, and I'm glad to have served. But they don't. I mean, $18,000 a year, you just can't do that.
It's interesting. We just talked to Shannon Luis. And she was in the Marines, and she said this exact same thing. She's like, I just wanted to do my 4 years and get the hell out.
I mean, I would have stayed longer, but to be honest, like I said, the pay is fucked, man. Yeah. I mean, if I was an officer, it might have seemed a little more, beneficial to me. But being enlisted is just not where it's at. And honestly, I'm kind of glad I got out when I did too.
Yeah.
Well, how long ago?
So I got out in right before 2012.
Okay.
And then I started working offshore, making stupid money when that was still going well. We all know where that's at now. So,
Well, thank you for your service, man.
Absolutely.
Very much appreciated.
Hell yeah.
A lot. So I've been following you on Facebook, and what company do you work for?
I work for Sunpro Solar Energy Specialists.
Okay. And is that a Houston-based company?
Believe it or not, they're based out of Louisiana, out of Mandeville, Louisiana. It is a veteran-owned company, though, so that was one of the reasons I was drawn to it. I actually just kind of, when I got out of the oil field, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I had a friend that I mountain bike with. He's also an Air Force veteran, and he happened to, be working for this solar company. And he had asked me to make him an American flag, and I made one for his office, nice big flag, and he was real happy with it. And when I delivered it to his house, I was like, "Dang, this is a nice house. What do you do?" He's like, "Oh, I sell solar." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, buddy." Like
dumbass.
Yeah. Well, come to find out, he started telling me more and more about it, and I was like, "Why haven't I heard about this? Why doesn't?" And that coming from someone who's, I'm interested in technology and stuff like that, but I had no idea that it was real enough and feasible enough for the everyday homeowner to do.
Right.
And so whenever I, decided to get out of the oil field, I was like, "Hey man, can I get a job over there?" And he's like, "Hell yeah." And turns out he's one of the top earners in the company. Had won a Mercedes C-Class for the last 2 years because he's doing so well. Yeah, that was their bonus. He had sold, I think it was $3 million the first year and then $4.5 million last year. So they give him a Mercedes.
So he has 2 Mercedes.
No, he sold them as soon as he got home.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah. Who wants to pay taxes on a car he doesn't really want? He has a Challenger and a Jeep. Like he's set.
He's good.
And he gets a company car too. So
sustainable cars.
Yeah.
with solar.
Yeah. What solar panels do you install? Because I felt like you said you install some stuff from Tesla.
We used to install the Tesla Powerwall, which is a backup battery.
Okay.
But we install LG panels.
Okay.
And the LG panels that we install are made in Huntsville, Alabama. So that's another reason we sell American-made products.
Very nice.
And so it supports American jobs. It's kind of important to me.
And the power panels are not American-made?
So Powerwalls are American-made, but the reason we stopped selling them, believe it or not, is because after this freeze, there was an 8 to 12 month wait on getting those batteries in stock. And so we had to switch. So long story, but basically the way solar works is photons from the sun come down into the solar cells and it creates a DC energy, and your home uses AC or alternating current. And so it has to be inverted at the panel in order for you to be able to use that energy. Well, the people who make the inverters are the same people who make the batteries we currently install now. Mm-hmm. It's called Enphase.
So it's just better to have the same company.
It's more congruent. It's like having, GoPro equipment with your GoPro camera instead of having something you bought off Amazon, right? It's just like, hopefully works. Like this will definitely work. It's a lot more smart as far as the way they use the battery. For instance, in a power outage situation, if you have a Tesla, right, and you lose power at like 5 p.m., well, the sun's going to set soon, but your Tesla will automatically drain to 50% before it allows your solar panels to take over. Whereas the Enphase, as long as there's enough sunlight for you to power your home with your solar panels, it's not going to discharge at all. And then once it becomes nighttime and your solar panels cannot sustain your power, it will start to take over, and then you'll have battery power all night.
So Tesla's a huge brand now.
Yeah.
And do you get a better product out of Tesla, or is it more in the brand?
Well, don't get me wrong. Tesla makes a great battery. I feel that they charge way, way too much for them. And to be honest, that's the truth for any backup battery right now, because there's only a few that are reputable and have, experience. Tesla can make that battery for so much cheaper because that's what they are. They're a battery company. Yes, they make cars around a battery. So the batteries that they make are fantastic, but overpriced. Enphase also makes really, really good batteries, also overpriced. And in fact, for a lot of homeowners, if you're in the center point area where you get gas run to your house, I actually recommend generators as far as backup power, even though we don't sell them. And that's just to, put the homeowner first and foremost as far as what's best for them.
Yeah. Is it true that there's not a lot of improvements with batteries long term, yet there's not a lot that's been done, and Tesla has kind of done a little more for the had some upgrades technology, I guess?
Yeah. So the batteries that we were selling, the Powerwalls, was actually the Powerwall 2. So I assume there is some kind of improvement. To be honest, I don't know what the Powerwall 1 had. But as far as Enphase, this is their first run at a battery, and it's been doing really well. So as far as battery technology, it's probably going to be like cell phones, where, there's a new one every 6 months and you can't really keep up with it. A lot of people say that about the solar panels too, is like, well, why would I buy it if I can just wait next year and get the better producing panel? Like, well, do you have a cell phone right now? Yeah. Which one is it? Oh, it's the iPhone 10. Cool. Do you know that there's an iPhone 12 right now? Are you mad that you bought your phone? So it's the same concept. As far as backing up your power, though, it's really important, especially after what we saw in March or in February with the freeze. A lot of people were kind of left high and dry, myself included, by the way. Me and my family slept in my truck for 3 days. It was really, really cold in my house.
Oh, wow.
The solar, movement all seems like a big gimmick. So can you break it down as far as costs? I know you were talking about the recent customer, and I'm sure that's why people are hesitant to want to go solar. It seems like a good idea. It seems like you're going to save money, but can you break us down, like how much it's actually going to cost for an install? For let's call it 2,000 square foot house,
So that's also a common misconception. A lot of people are, whenever I talk to people on forums or Facebook or anything like that, they're like, well, I have a 2,000 square foot house. How much is it going to cost? Like, I have no idea how much energy you use. So one of the first things that I do on my consultations is get the last 12 months of usage, if it's available. If it's a new house, we have a formula where we basically calculate, square feet divided by 2 if it's a new house, or square feet divided by 2, and then add, I believe it's like 500 for your monthly kilowatt hour usage. And so once we figure out exactly how much energy you used in the past year, we know how you use your energy, and then we can build a system customized to your house.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not every install is going to be the same. It's always different.
Absolutely correct. A lot of people are wondering, like I went to a guy's house yesterday and he said, well, how much is it? How much energy do you use?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Well, let me take a look at your bill. And dude, when I go through people's electric bills, their eyes perk up because they don't realize.
Yeah.
I spent $2,000 on electricity last year. What in the world? How long have you lived here? 15 years. Wow, that's $30,000 that you spent on electricity in those years.
Well, our brain doesn't work that way. So when you say that's probably what scares people, is because we're used to the package deal. Well, this is the package that we're going to fit for you. So when you're coming, a sales guy, and you're like, well, I don't know. I need to look at your information. That probably throws people off because why don't you know? You're the sales guy, right? Should be a package deal, right? But you're customizing the entire thing for that one house.
Yeah, we've all been basically more or less programmed to pay an electric bill, pay your taxes, et cetera, et cetera. If you don't pay your light bill, you don't have lights. It's that simple. Well, there's a way around that now, and a lot of people are hesitant because they've been conditioned their whole life that that's something you have to do. And there's that, just like you were saying earlier, you feel like it's a gimmick or a scam.
Right.
It's not. It's very simple. The sun shines for free every day. If you don't take advantage of it, then that's on you.
You're in the same realm as all these people selling vacuums and things like coming to your door. So you're it sucks because you're in that same field, and I don't want to open the door.
Well, that's one of the things I pride myself on, right? They have people that are called door knockers, and they go out and knock on doors and set appointments for people like me. So I don't go knock on doors.
The closer.
Absolutely.
I don't like to go knock on people's doors because I know dang well, just like you said with Kirby, Vivint, all that stuff. When they come and knock on my door, I've got 2 kids, I've got 3 dogs. You start, cause a disturbance in the house. I'm mad when I open the door. Like, what do you want? Right. Oh, I'm here no, go away. I'm not that guy. Right? You have to call our office and set up an appointment, or we call you and set up an appointment, and then I go to your home. And basically, like you were saying earlier about the price, right? Most people don't realize that what they're spending right now is likely what they would spend for a solar system. As far as the cost, it's all inclusive. It includes the installation, the hardware, every bit of, there's no hidden fees, nothing like that. And there's a 26% federal tax credit. So the government's literally chipping in over a quarter of your price. Why wouldn't you consider it?
Can you break it down? You don't have to give names, but can you give some examples of some recent customers of what they paid the last 12 months or on their electricity bill, and then after you installed the equipment?
Absolutely. So I've not gotten her updated bills yet, but one of my recent customers, we went over her bills, and she had signed up for about 13.1 cents per kilowatt hour. A lot of people say, hey, I've signed up for 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 or 12, whatever, right? That's not what you're paying. If you look at your electricity bill, the easiest way to find out what you're actually paying is divide what you paid by the number of kilowatt hours you used that month. That's how you're going to find your true kilowatt per hour price. And so she was paying actually about 18 cents.
So how do they do that then? I mean, if you're paying, if the contract says 12 cents per kilowatt hour, then why is it more?
Well, there's all sorts of hidden fees. You ever look at your electric bill and there's a delivery charge. Well, nobody's coming by your house and delivering your energy every month. Why are they charging you for that? Well, I understand that, the infrastructure requires money, but let's be honest, they built a freaking football stadium in Houston. I think they're doing all right.
Yeah.
So basically they've been taking advantage of homeowners since the beginning, and people just don't really care. In fact, I've been to several homeowners' houses that say, I don't even know how much my electric bill was because I just have it on auto draft. Just take it. I don't care. Right?
Yeah.
Well, you should. Yeah.
It's a lot of money, man.
Really is.
So, yeah. So give us some numbers real quick.
Yeah. So she was spending an average, let's see here, of $293 a month. And we found that, like I said, by getting her 12-month usage.
How big was her house? Can you look at that or give an estimation? A single story?
I'll say it was a 2-story. I want to say maybe like 2,400 square feet.
Okay.
Not huge, but also not small.
Yeah.
She was a foster mother. She had 2 foster kids in the house. And so it was a normal family as far as how many people were in the home and how much energy they used.
Right.
But with her having signed up for 13.1 cents a kilowatt hour and her paying 18 cents a kilowatt hour after everything was said and done, when she found that out, she was mad. Like she really was mad because people don't break that stuff down.
Yeah.
And so nobody asked their electric company too, how much is it going to cost for me to have electricity for the next 20 years? Nobody does that because most people, let's be honest, in America, I believe average homeowners stay in their home from 7 to 10 years.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So most people don't really look at that far ahead. However, every dime that you send to the electric company is wasted. You're not getting anything back from that. You're not gaining anything. You're not adding any value to yourself. All you're doing is sending a company money to give you the privilege to turn your lights on.
Yeah. So
I did that too.
What's that?
Blow away from that.
Oh yeah. So the solar panels, the power that it creates, what is done with the excess power?
It's a great question. So people like us on the CenterPoint grid, or even a little bit further south on Texas, New Mexico, those 2 grids in the Houston area are 1-for-1. And what that means is any solar overproduction gets bought back at the same rate that you're paying. So let's say you're paying 14 cents a kilowatt hour. Well, if you overproduce by 1 kilowatt hour, they're sending you a credit of 14 cents. Now, they don't send you a check. It's not monetary. It is. It used to be with with Reliant, where they would actually send you a check upon cancel. But most of it nowadays is just rollover credits. And those credits are used to pay for the warmer months of the year. So we will design your system to overproduce during the cooler months of the year. And basically that overproduction is used to pay for your overusage during the warmer months. So I'll show a graph here real quick. I'm not sure if this will get on the camera.
Yeah, you can go
closer. Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
okay.
there you go.
All right. So these orange bars here are basically used. Those are the overproduction. And so that overproduction, let's say in April, she will have actually overproduced by $222. So not only does she not have a bill, but she's actually overproducing that much. And the reason for that is the rest of the months, these blue bars here are actually the bill that's left over after solar. So that's intentional. That's why I go to people's homes and basically talk about their energy usage with them.
Right.
Because I could slap 20 panels up on your roof and hope for the best, or I could dive into the actual numbers, find out exactly how much power you need to produce, and build a system custom for your home.
So have you had any customers install the equipment and then come back to you and like be pissed because they're not receiving what they thought they would, or they're spending actually more money on the solar power?
Yeah.
No. I really, I get a lot of people who ask me like, how many, if you look on Google, and solarreviews.com, those are the 2 best places to really look. But solar reviews, you actually have to be qualified, meaning you've bought from that company in order to leave a review. On Google, it could be, Joe Blow down the street who's just mad at us for some reason because we kept calling him. But essentially, I've not really had any bad experiences. Everybody so far has been happy. I mean, most of the people I talk to are spending about an average amount of electricity. And then turns out when they find out, like, you're paying $200 a month for electricity on average, and our solar system is $205. It's an easy switch because it's just a reallocation of money you're already spending towards something you're going to own,
right,
and will add value to your house. And it's tax-free as far as property taxes go. So it'll add value to your home without adding property taxes. So you don't have to pay any extra on the taxes, but you can sell your house for more.
What about upkeep? You install this and then you have a problem. Do you have to pay for you to come out and fix it?
So our company is we have 3 25-year warranties. Actually, LG offers the first 2. It's the panels themselves, the products, the modules, everything like that. And then we also have a 25-year power production warranty from LG, which means these come out of the factory, which is in Huntsville, Alabama, at 100% efficiency. And after 25 years, they're guaranteed not to drop below 90.08. So it's less than 10% degradation over 25 years. Yeah. But as far as the work, we also have a 25-year labor warranty. Not any other company I've seen has that yet.
So because a lot of companies, not solar, but maybe appliance work or something, they say, oh, we got this warranty, but the one part is not covered, and that part's like $5,000 or something crazy like that. So is there anything like that, like any catch like that, or is it absolutely everything? The batteries, the switches, I mean, everything.
So the batteries being not from Sunpro, those are a 10-year warranty, and that comes from Enphase. Same thing from Tesla. They have a 10-year warranty, and it's an unlimited cycle. With Enphase, it's a 4,000 cycle, which is, you're not going to meet that in 10 years even if you do it every single day. Pardon me.
You're good, buddy.
But yeah, everything is covered. Even the equipment that we use to install it into your roof, it has a 25-year leak protection warranty. It's made by Unirack.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Yeah. So the equipment that we use, a lot of installers use these shims that they shove underneath your
roofing.
Yes, sorry. Your
what is it called?
Shingles. There we go.
Yeah.
And it in my opinion, it damages your roof, right? You're breaking a seal that didn't need to be broken. Ours just goes straight on top of the shingles themselves. There's a seal. We fill them up until it comes out the weep holes. I mean, I can bring it out if you'd like, but it comes with a 25-year leak protection warranty. You can't go buy this product off of Amazon or Walmart or something like that. Like, you have to be certified in order to purchase it.
We talk about batteries and it has less of a warranty, but that's the money right there, right? Is the batteries. So these things go out and then you just have to pay full price. How much are these batteries and how many are there?
Well, it depends. Okay. For the standard homeowner, one battery is going to be quite enough because it'll run 10 to 12, 110 volt circuits. So if you look on your circuit breaker panel, there's areas like kitchen, living room, washer, etc. And so it'll power 10 to 12 of those, which is a good number. Whereas a generator would obviously power all of them. However, one battery will not start anything with a 220 circuit, like your dryer or your air conditioning system. The reason for that is the amperage draw. There's too much amperage from the machine that needs to be started in order for the battery to basically power it. So you would need 2 batteries. Batteries range from about 17 to 20,000.
Oh, God.
Dang. So how much was the total system on this house that we just talked about?
So give me one second.
And then the tax rebate that you were talking about, is that on the total install cost, or is that just equipment?
So it's total, right? As much as you're paying for the system, they pay 26% of it. So this lady, her subtotal before the tax credit was $53,614, and that was for 36 of our LG 365 watt panels.
That's just material?
That's everything. That's
How
installation.
much?
$53,614.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
Hey,
Now,
not bad.
Now, after the tax credit, which was $13,939, she's out of pocket $39,674. Now, it works the same way as buying a car. Like, if you buy a car and finance for 12 months, you're obviously going to have high monthly payments, but you're going to own it earlier and you're going to pay less in the end. So high payments, low principal. Whereas she chose to do the low payments because it's easier for most homeowners. So she's financed on a 20-year. It's a 1.49. So it's, super low APR. And, over the course of 20 years, she will have paid $39,674.
So who does the financing?
So we have several companies. We've got Sunlight Financial, we've got Mosaic, we've got Dividend, we've got SunGauge, We have several different companies, LoanPal, that will, basically fit your credit structure.
Okay. And these are all reputable financing places.
Yeah, you can look at, and the thing is, a lot of people say, well, I'll just get my bank to finance it. If you go to your bank and tell them, hey, I need $60,000 so I can install a solar system, they're going to laugh in your face.
Yeah.
They don't get it. And that's why there's certain financing companies that are strictly for solar. It's because that's what they do, right? We are actually kind of privileged because we are a roofing company first and foremost. So nice. Sunpro started as Mark Jones Construction, and they're now Build Pro, right? So we're actually a 3-part company. Build Pro does the roofing. Sunpro is obviously the solar side. And we also have Energy Pro. Now, Energy Pro is something that we do different than other companies. Sorry.
You're good, buddy.
Basically, Energy Pro, we like to make sure your home is energy efficient as possible before we start putting panels on your home. So what we'll do is, simple things like change out your door strips, LED light bulb package of 64 bulbs, give you an attic tent. We're going to give you a Google Nest thermostat. We'll give you a smart power strip, all sorts of things that basically can make your home more efficient before we start producing. So we reduce your usage before we produce your usage.
That's smart.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Do you have any people that actually end up staying on power while they have, is that possible? Can you stay on a power company and then do solar panels as well?
What do you mean?
You still have to be on the
Yes.
power company.
Yeah,
Okay.
you still have to be grid tied.
Okay.
So part of the installation process is what they call an interconnection agreement. And what that is you'll, get either through CenterPoint, Texas, New Mexico, Entergy, whatever grid you're on, you will send them, or we will send them an interconnection agreement, which basically certifies that you can send power both ways.
Oh.
And that's for the overproduction.
Okay.
Right. And so different grids have different buyback programs. For instance, like I said, CenterPoint's 1-for-1. So we're all very lucky, and people, it's a super easy decision for that. Where you get to Entergy, like in East Texas or in Louisiana, they buy back at 6.5 cents when you're paying 12.5 cents. So for those people, we recommend a battery, because as soon as you overproduce and it hits the meter, you lose money. So in Louisiana, if you go solar, you have to have a battery, because as soon as you overproduce, it'll go to your battery rather than going to the meter. And then at nighttime, you get to use that energy for free.
Who lobbies for that? Like how much you get back? Like, is there a time when the energy company won't pay you for your overuse and then it wouldn't be beneficial?
So CenterPoint and Texas, New Mexico have both made it like a mission for them to be on 1-for-1 grids. Of course, with CenterPoint, as you may know, there's several different providers. You have Reliant, Green Mountain, Rhythm. Those are the 3 companies, by the way, that have the best solar buyback programs. But there's TXU, Champion. You could name it, and it's probably an energy company in Houston, right? So they're just a middleman, and basically they buy electricity from the grid at like 4 cents a kilowatt hour and then sell it to you at 12, 13, 14, 15 cents a kilowatt hour.
Right.
And so they're just making a ton of money off of doing nothing.
Yeah. That's crazy. What are you doing? So I guess my question was, if I wanted to, could I still use the power that's off the grid and not from my solar power?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a cutoff switch on the side of your home that's basically, in fact, when you get installed, the process is usually about 4 to 6 weeks for your grid to give you PTO, or power to operate. Thank you, buddy.
Bro. Gotcha, bro.
So you're a good guy. He's a good guy. Man. Is it too? Man. It's hot as shit in here, isn't it?
It's a little bit warm.
It's a little our fault, so take responsibility for it.
Yeah. Probably all the lights making me moist.
You're getting a tan right now for sure. That's the tanning bed right here.
Yeah.
So we could, through the flip of a switch, we could get back on the grid and use that power if we wanted to.
Yeah, and just so you know, let's just say, like, I installed her in the middle of summer, right? So she's likely not going to produce all of the electricity that it takes to run her house. So she will pull from the grid some.
Okay.
One of the things that we're offering homeowners right now is a utility bill credit. And what that means is we're sending your utility company $1,000, $500, whatever it is, that would basically help to cover any overproduction that you're not going to get until your system starts to basically catch up.
Hold on. I don't think I understood you correctly. So you installed it in the summer. Wouldn't she be producing more in the summer?
So she still doesn't have PTO. She was installed, I think, just about 3 weeks ago, I want to say.
Okay.
So CenterPoint, it's up to them. Unfortunately, that's one of the things that is out of our hands, is that they have to inspect and make sure, we did everything the right way. And once they give you PTO or power to operate, that means you can go out there and turn your solar system on. And then at that point, you start producing. Now, as I had explained earlier, we build your systems to overproduce during the cooler months of the year because that's when generally you use less electricity. And so during the warmer months of the year, you're actually going to use more energy than your solar panels are going to produce. So it's important that you be grid tied so that you can still have the opportunity to, and let's just say, God forbid, your entire solar system just goes down, which is extremely unlikely. But if that were to ever happen, you're not going to lose power because you're still tied to the grid.
So you have to maintain. So how does the bill look like? So do we still maintain some type of financial agreement with Reliant Energy? Like, are we still paying a monthly charge with that? And
it depends on your provider, right?
Okay.
Right now, I'm suggesting everyone move to Rhythm because they have a true 1-for-1. There's no monthly fees or anything like that, and there's unlimited rollover as far as your credits, and they never expire as well. So basically, you don't have to pay You don't have to pay Rhythm anything, but they do have solar plans on Reliant and Green Mountain Energy, where they know that you're going to be sending power both ways. Unfortunately, Reliant and Green Mountain Energy have changed their policies in the last 4 months to basically not let you overproduce as much as you possibly can. There's a cap on it.
You make some money. Yes, people want to make some money. Huh?
That's what I'm saying. Their policies can change at any moment. And then it's not that sweet of a deal.
That is
possibly.
Yeah, no, it's a real. It's a realization.
So you have to have someone lobbying for you, so you can kind of get ahead on this thing.
Yeah, basically, like I said, Rhythm is a fairly new company, and that's why we're all suggesting our homeowners go there. Is because once they saw that Green Mountain Energy and CenterPoint or Reliant, were changing their policies on buybacks, they were like, let's make a move because now they're getting all the business of everybody who has solar. And obviously there's still contracts, right? You can sign a 2-year contract and you could still be in that sweet spot until your 2-year contract is up. And then you can junk deuce just like you would before and just switch electric companies. And it's super simple. Yeah. But I feel like as long as there's a 1-for-1 buyback, there's always going to be a provider out there that's going to offer you true 1-to-1.
I think that the paperwork part is where people probably, I know for me personally, that just seems like a mess. Like I have to maintain a relationship with, in my case, it would be Reliant. And then I'd also have to be paying for the system. So I could see where people would be hesitant about that.
That's
part.
Also kind of a misconception. A lot of people think, well, I'm going to have 2 bills, right? Yeah. I'm going to have to pay them however much a month just to have their services. Oh. Well, with Rhythm, there's not, if there is, it usually doesn't exceed like $10 a month. So $10 is what you're paying for you to have service, and then your solar produces all the electricity you're using. So the great thing about solar is it's really easy to budget for. Like say people on fixed incomes, it's great for them because coming home to a $300 bill in the middle of summer rocks a lot of people's worlds, myself included. I'm not really ready to pay that much at all times. Mm-hmm. And so knowing exactly how much to budget for, just like buying a car, you don't have to worry about the price going up randomly. Like exactly how much you're going to pay.
Yeah. So let's talk about the summer months, the system not producing as much as you actually need in the house. So what does that actually look like? So are there cases where people don't have power when they need it in the summertime?
Never. No, because you're grid tied. As long as you're still tied to the grid, you still have access to their power. Okay. Now, of course, they're going to charge you for it, which is why we give you the $1,000 bill credit or however much of a bill credit you need in order to get you past that hump. Okay. Because we basically sent a check she switched to Rhythm. So we sent a check to Rhythm for $1,000. And so and the time it takes for her to be able to turn her solar system on, that $1,000 check is going to cover any electric bills she may have.
Okay. So it's a one-time $1,000 check.
That's correct.
Okay. So then once those funds are depleted, then it's on your own.
Yeah. Okay. But usually by that time, $1,000, that's nearly half a year for most people. Okay. But usually by that time, your system is allowed to turn back on. And then you start, with a negative $700 bill. And so a lot of people don't realize that as well. Is you'll actually get bills that have a negative amount on them, which means technically they owe you money.
Yeah.
Technically, but really that goes somewhere, right?
Or it does. It does. It stays as a credit. Yeah. Right. Reliant used to have a cash on cancel policy where you could, in fact, one of my friends who just sold his house with solar hadn't had a bill in 3 years and was remodeling it for about 6 months. So there was nobody in the house, but the panels were still producing. He got a check for $1,900 when he sold it.
Wow.
Right. But they're not doing that anymore kind of because of that.
Yeah. Because there's people are getting ahead on it.
Yeah.
Well, what about the freeze? So like say the freeze happens again. If it doesn't make enough energy to run your house, will at least run some things? And is there a chance that the energy company would just consume what you're producing and not allow you to use it?
That's a great question. So that's another common misconception is that I have solar panels on my house. The sun is shining. I have electricity. Not true. If the grid goes down and you don't have a backup source like a battery or a generator, your solar panels are going to not work. The reason for that is because if you overproduce with just your solar panels, when this grid is down, you're sending electricity back through the lines that people are trying to work on. So that's dangerous. So you have a default basically switch off as soon as the grid goes down for your solar panels, unless you have a battery. Right? If you have a generator, your panels will shut off as well, but you'll have generator power. So if you have battery, you have somewhere for that excess energy to go, and so your panels continue to operate as normal.
So the batteries that you're fitted with are just like a buffer. They're not really just to hold energy for you to last you through like a day.
Well, they absolutely are.
Okay.
So the great thing about having solar panels with a battery is that during power outages, your solar system is going to continue to function as normal. So a lot of people think, during this freeze, a little video for you guys. If you have a battery, right, even though there was snow covering these panels, this home still had energy throughout the day just by solar. Because it obviously didn't come from the grid.
Yeah.
And then whenever at nighttime hit, their battery took over and they had energy throughout their house.
So I'm just wondering if 3 days the grid goes down for about 3 days and it's a very sunny 3 days, it wouldn't give you anything? Like it wouldn't consume from the batteries and then it would just be putting back into the batteries?
That's exactly what happens.
Okay.
Right? You use the power that's in your battery at nighttime.
Yeah.
And as soon as the sun rises, your solar panels take over. And so they start to not only produce the energy for your house, but they actually also charge the battery at the same time. So the next day, you'll have a full battery charge for the nighttime.
Very nice.
So essentially, I've talked about this with my dad a lot. You can actually completely go off grid.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's my next question.
Cut tie. Yeah. So we apparently used to do that, but not so much anymore. I'm not sure why. I can't speak on that. But for a lot of people who are just tired of being connected to the grid, period, you would need to build a solar system that produces minimum what you would use at your maximum usage, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. And then you'd also have to have enough batteries in order to store all that excess electricity because it's got to go somewhere. Right.
And that's where it gets expensive.
Yes.
Building a bank of batteries to hold all the...
Yeah. There's actually a company out there called Outback Batteries, and they're designed specifically for that. And in fact, most of them are able to use a generator in combination with batteries and solar so that you never need to touch a grid again.
Damn. How much room does this equipment take up in someone's house?
So the battery is a lot smaller than most people think. It's about, I'd say 3 foot wide by 2 feet high by about 12 inches deep.
Okay.
They're installed on the walls nearest the meter. You can install these inside or outside. I've actually done both. And so, they're about 300 pounds too. So if you install it outside, a lot of people are kind of worried, somebody's going to run off with it. If they run off with that, let them have it.
They deserve it.
Let them have it. Shoot them while they're running away. I
Oh, wow.
Bastards.
But,
they worked for that. So it's, it's the battery, 300 pounds. What else gets installed?
so the panels obviously go on an aluminum track system. It's anti-corrosion, it's marine grade, so they're not going to rust anytime soon. And then, of course, the mounting hardware. And so all that gets installed. The great thing about, we use microinverters. So there's two different kinds of solar system. There's a string inverter system and there's a microinverter system. If you know anything about electricity, it's like series versus parallel circuits. Okay, so where series being like an old set of Christmas lights where you take one bulb out, it's the same system as a string, where if you take one of those panels and let's just say it goes offline, your whole system's done. Right? But we use microinverters, so it inverts at each panel individually, and then we can run all the wiring inside your house because it's AC versus DC.
Got you.
Do you also use the solar panels that do the same thing where if, in certain sections of the panel, if something goes out, that the whole panel won't work? Do y'all use those panels as well?
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
They have 60 cells on each panel. and each 60 cells, let's just say one of them is shaded, right? The other cells in that solar panel are going to make up for that one that's being shaded.
Yeah, because there are some that you have like a tree blocking it. It's the whole thing.
Right.
Even though some of the cells are getting sun still.
So that's another reason that we come out, is to figure out exactly how much tree coverage you have. In fact, we have a pre-design that we normally go through, and I'll show you here, but basically you can see the exact amount of solar exposure that you have. So for instance, over here, it'll show you a number. It's like 96, the solar access, right?
And for the people on the audio, it's just showing sections of the roof.
Right.
And what would be exposed.
So we'll break down your roof into different facets, make sure that we get every bit of your roof, and make sure that there's no shading issues, right? Some people are 1-story houses that live next to 2-story houses. We're going to put the panels towards the top of your house because that's where most of the sun is going to be. Even though a lot of people think, well, there's sun shining on my roof all day. Yes, there is. But what we look for is the southern, the east, and the west roofs. That's the highest amount of solar exposure. We try to avoid putting them on the north side, but some people just have small roofs and they still want to be 100% energy independent. It's still possible. You're just going to have less production from the north side.
Can you give us any drawbacks? I know you're probably, I don't know how much you can, but what is a drawback for installing solar and trying to go solar?
I'll be honest, I've heard this from a lot of elder folks, right? As they say, well, 20 years, I can't finance that for 20 years. I'll be dead by then. Like, yeah, but do you have a car right now? Or are you still paying on it?
Right.
How long are you paying on that for?
Continue.
But your houses, you have a 30-year mortgage on most houses, right?
Yeah.
And most people don't have them paid off by the time they pass. They don't worry about that so much because they need a house to live. Well, in some people's minds, that's a drawback. And I understand it, right? Because you're comfortable paying what you're paying right now. That's fine. But I'm not. And even if you're 80 years old, if they're being overcharged for electricity and I have a solution that you can be paying, less and helping the environment, adding value to your house for anybody who might take over the home when you pass, why not? That's definitely a rebuttal I have for pardon me, for a lot of those people, is that, who's getting the house when you pass? If you're willing to talk to me about when you're going to die, I'm going to ask who's getting your house, right? And if they say, oh, my grandkids, perfect. Don't you want them to have more money whenever they sell it? Or if they live in it, wouldn't you like for them to not have an electric bill?
Yeah.
Have you seen that the solar panels add value to your house? What if you got in with a brand new couple, they just bought a house, but they plan on only staying for like 5 years? Would it be beneficial? I mean, or would they lose out on that?
Not at all. In fact, my friend, so he had, I want to say it was like 40 panels on his home, right? The house was appraised with the panels on them at like 509, and it was sold in 2 days for 520. And if you look here, it's increased in value quite a bit already.
So it's 482 to 552.
Right. And so that was, it's been about 2 weeks since he sold that house.
So they recognize it when they appraise?
There are different appraisers, right? You have to be careful because some people, especially realtors, will try and talk you out of solar left and right because they're ignorant about it. And I say that in the most respectful way.
Dumbasses.
No. Honestly, ignorance is a problem with most of the people that I talk to because not knowing something is an issue. I'm here to educate. I'm not here to push anything, but if I can tell you something you didn't know before, then I've added value to you, right? And there's a lot of realtors out there who don't see the value because, what if the homeowner doesn't want it? Well, what if the homeowner that moves in doesn't want the pool that you just installed? Then buy another house, well, I don't want to pay, 10 or 20 grand extra because they have a pool. Well, then buy another house. They're not getting rid of the pool just so you'll buy it.
Right.
So we're not going to take the solar panels off just so you'll buy it. This house is energy efficient and energy independent. If you don't want it, there's another one down the street. Go for it.
Yeah.
So how does that loan work? Does the bank pay off the second loan whenever someone buys the house?
So there's several ways you can go about that. With Sunlight Financial, you can actually transfer the loan in most cases. So you can transfer the loan. Let's just say, you have solar for 10 years and after 10 years, you decide to move and the new homeowners assume the loan. Well, in 10 years, they will not only have paid it off, but now their house is worth more and they don't have to pay anything for it. Right? After 10 years, you're energy independent. So that's one of the things a lot of people kind of overlook is that once your solar system is paid for, you no longer have to pay for your energy.
Because
that's the mind fuck, man.
Yeah.
Well, people don't want to accept that, right? They think you've got to pay somebody. That's where the people think, oh, this must be a scam. Like, it's not. You know, NASA's been using solar panels since the 80s. Did you know that the very first residential solar project in the United States was the White House?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Jimmy Carter installed panels. They were probably about worthless now, but but the amount of technology that's come since then, solar's not new. It's just new to people.
Yeah.
What about for our country folks? I don't know if you said no already, but what if they wanted you to build them an off-grid system?
Mm-hmm. So my company won't do it right now, and I'm guessing there's some sort of liability involved. Like I said, I don't know about that. But for instance, my father has about 20 acres up in Livingston. The grid that he's on, Sam Houston, is a nightmare. Okay. Yeah. They buy back, I think they charge 13 cents a kilowatt hour and they buy back at like $7, but you have to have $1 million umbrella policy for the insurance. And there's also, a limit of 15 kilowatt system. So you can't build above that. If you do, there's a $50 a month.
Just too many catches.
That's the crap.
Right.
It's like take this pill.
Make it to where you're not going to get ahead.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, not only that, but they also do it, I feel like, to deter people from doing it.
And I'm sure someone got talked to in your company with some of these big corporations like, hey, we got to make money. So don't be building off-grid systems, assholes.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they deter it because they realize they're going to lose money, right? For instance, that lady that I had shown you all the example of, she was with TXU. When we called to get her usage for the past 12 months, the lady asked us about 4 times why we wanted that information before she finally gave it up.
Did you tell her who you were with? Or
Yep.
Okay.
So that's what I'll do. If we need to, if they don't have those records, like Reliant, you can look up online and just see your usage. But with some companies like Discount Power, right, you'll need to call in and verify you are who you are and then tell them why you want the information, even though it's your information.
Yeah, that sounds shady. Discount tire or discount power. It sounds shady as shit.
Yeah. Well, there was a lady out in Hempstead who was living in a double wide trailer, and she was paying almost $500 a month.
Oh my gosh!
And I get that she was kind of energy inefficient, right, in her home, but still, that's a wild amount of money. And so her solar bill is probably, I think it was like $220.
Damn.
So,
do you have any instances where people have gone solar but actually end up paying more than what they were paying with their power?
Originally, yes. Okay, but here's the deal. Let's just say you normally pay on an average $200 a month. That means at some point during the summer, you probably had a $300 bill, right? But your average is $200. If our solar system is $215, $220, people are like, no, I don't want to do that. Well, if your electric bill is $220, you'd pay it, right? Right. Okay. Also, how long does your electric bill last? Infinity, forever. Right. They're never going to stop charging you as long as you're using electricity. And so the great thing about solar is eventually your electricity is going to cost more than what it would for you to go solar.
Yeah.
So even if it's fine, a lot of people say, oh, well, the return on investment is too long. You don't have one with your electric company. So anything is better than what you're doing.
Yeah. But we're just not conditioned to think that way, though.
And that's definitely an obstacle.
So
it's hard to see, too, though, because you could leave at any point and sell your house and, I don't know, live with someone else. But now you have a debt of $38,000. So you gotta know that you're going to be good for paying this thing.
That's what I was going to ask. Mm-hmm. So how does that work? If I get solar power or solar panels installed in my house, but I want to move out in 7 years, what happens with that? Am I still responsible for that debt?
You can either basically sell it to the homeowner, right? You can put the price on top of what you got your house appraised for. You can find an approved appraiser that will appraise the solar with your home and sell it for that, like my friend did. You can transfer the loan in some cases, like with Sunlight. Or if you're, there is an option where you could remove it and then replace your entire roof, because the way that we install, we obviously drill into your rafters, and all of our installations are rated for 130 miles an hour or a category 4 hurricane. So they're not coming off anytime soon. And if you were to remove them, you would have to replace the roof because there's a bunch of holes in it. Yeah. So a lot of people don't find that to be, to make sense for them.
Yeah. It's a commitment thing, right?
It is and it isn't, right? I've talked to a lot of people who say, well, I'm going to sell my house in 5 years. Perfect. Sell it for more money now. Yeah. Also take control of your electricity bills while you're in it. I mean, even if it is a little more than what you're paying right now, at the end of those 5 years, you will not be paying more than you would for electricity.
Yeah.
I think if the energy company stays 1-to-1, it's a great deal.
Yeah.
As long as there's somebody in there fighting for those rights and avoiding those policy changes, it's worth it. But the moment they say, okay, we're only going to pay you back this much, and then you're only going to be able to give us, or you're going to be able to give us whatever, but we're only going to pay you up until this point. That's when it kind of sucks.
So why I think that will never happen is because, as we have seen in February where we had that freeze, right? We lost power to damn near all of Texas. People with solar were contributing back to the grid as soon as the power was turned back on. The more people with solar, the more contribution to the grid. And I'm sure y'all know people are flocking to Texas right now. I mean, it's going crazy. And there's not enough infrastructure, to facilitate that amount of energy usage. And so the likelihood of us having blackouts or rolling brownouts is a lot more likely.
Rolling brownouts. Why is it that?
Blackout is when it just goes out. Brownout is when it's like a
blip.
Yeah.
Blip-ish.
Rolling browns, huh?
Yeah, rolling browns.
But basically is in fact, that's one of the things, we kind of tell homeowners is that CenterPoint has given us an incentive of $1,000 bill credit. That's not necessarily true, but they should take every person who has solar on their house as a value to them, because now they don't have to go build a multi-million-dollar facility in order to produce more power for the more people. If more people had solar, that overproduction doesn't just go away. That energy goes somewhere and it's to the grid. And now the grid is able to supply another home with power that they wouldn't have been able to before. And so it's contributing to the general good in sense.
They need to see everybody as an asset. But I think they just really like making all the money and having all the control.
Did you know that Reliance Stadium has about 600 panels on it?
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Isn't that funny? An energy company has solar power. I wonder if it makes sense.
Literal sense.
Wow. That's pretty good.
Is that good?
Can you imagine? Can you imagine installing those panels on top of that place?
That, dude.
Would you do that?
No.
You don't install though. You sell.
I don't install.
You're the closer.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean I'll go out there on the roof and check with them and stuff like that. But I'll be honest, those guys work their butts off. It's hot as heck. It's probably 120, 140 degrees on the roof, and these guys are up there just knocking it out. So I really appreciate that.
That's awesome.
What's the last selling point that if there's a message that you could tell homeowners that are really on the fence about going solar, what is the one thing to push them over the edge? Do it.
There's not really one. I mean, there's so many factors that go into it, and that's really why it's really important to have a qualified person come out. Because there's been several people who I go to their house and they're paying like $68, $70 a month, and I'm just like, you have a great day. If you'd like any information, I'll tell you whatever you'd like to know, but I'm not going to be able to help you. And especially, I'm not going to BS people. Like, I'd rather them know the truth, and that's why I do what I do. Like I said, this stuff makes sense. And I don't have to lie or scheme or be sleazy in order to sell it. Like, it sells itself. I'm just here to give you the information.
Yeah.
If I'm not there to give you proper information, I've had a lot of people who have spoken to other solar companies. This one guy's house was almost covered in trees. And I was like, unless you remove these trees, it's not going to make sense for you. And he's like, oh, well, blank company just came and told me that I'd be good to go. And I was like, of course they did. They want to sell you something. Like, I'm here to tell you the honest truth. If it's not for you, I'll let you know.
Yeah. That's good, man. Well, I had fun. So how can people get a hold of your company? How can they get a hold of you? You got a business page or something like that?
Yeah, of course. You can go to gosunpro.com. Me personally, my phone number is 832-873-9459. My email is jsampson@theprocompanies.com. And I'd be happy to forward or to take any calls. Text messages are probably the best way to get hold of me. But if you want to shoot me an email as well, I can do that. I love talking about it. It's really, it makes sense, like I said. And a lot of people, like you said, are kind of ignorant about it. And again, in the most respectful way. But I just want to educate more people about it so they can make a more informed decision.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I had fun, JT, and it was good seeing you, man.
Absolutely.
It's been too long.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Later.
Thank you very much.
Bye.